Just said you have over 300 cancerous tumors that are constantly growing in your body. You need to start chemo now.
It was stage 4.
Having a diagnosis where you've been told it's very extensive, it's throughout your entire body, I think that certainly takes a very large emotional toll.
The fear of the unknown is a very real fear, particularly when we're not sure what the outcome will be.
Well, you have life-threatening disease, you pretty much have 2 options. You could wither away and die, or you could research something else you could do to kill the cancer. My feelings inside were saying there's something else. There's another alternative method you could do.
Welcome to The Incurables. I'm Don Wildman. When a young person is diagnosed with a deadly cancer, the devastating news sends a shockwave through even the strongest of families. Casey DeMasi was a vibrant young college student when suddenly she was given the worst possible prognosis. Her world came to a stop when Casey learned she had hundreds of cancerous tumors spreading throughout her body, which would almost certainly prove fatal. Yet with determination, faith, and the support of her loving family, Casey defied all medical expectations. She found a path to wellness that not only saved her life, but in a remarkable turn of events, Casey's journey brought unexpected hope to one of the closest members of her family.
A diagnosis of cancer is devastating for anybody.
It's something that you don't think is going to happen to your family. It's always somebody else. It's always somebody else's daughter, somebody else's son, or somebody else's mother. Not my family. But then when it happens, you realize that, so why do you think you're immune?
Casey told me that they had told her that she had 200 tumors, cancerous tumors in her lungs. And then the doctor explained to her that it was stage 4.
Even when I was told by my oncologist that I have stage 4 terminal, I never felt like I was going to die.
The worst case scenario with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and one that's aggressive and stage 4 and spreading elsewhere in the body, is that if left unchecked, these people will certainly die.
Doctors told Casey that she had approximately 6 months to live. And my thought about that is, how do they know?
The scan showed that I had over 300 cancerous tumors from my throat all the way down to my pelvis.
When you get a diagnosis of cancer, it's very difficult to accept right away. She was scared, but the fear that she had was more of the unknown and the uncertainty.
It became very clear that this could be a death sentence.
You say, why her and not me? Because children are not supposed to die ahead of their parents.
Casey DeMasi was born and raised in a home on a corner lot in Whitestone, New York. The youngest of 3 children, Casey was close to her brothers James and Joseph. Their neighborhood teemed with children. Whitestone was a pretty carefree place to grow up.
We pretty much walked everywhere, rode bikes everywhere. Nothing like in Whitestone was off limits. Every single Friday night after my dad got home from work, we would always get 2 cheese pizza pies from Freddy's Pizza.
Casey's father, Joe DeMasi, was a New York City cop, which sometimes worked to his children's advantage.
Oh, don't have fights with the DeMasis because, Mr. DeMasi is a cop and he'll come get you. So it's kind of like that thing.
While Mr. DeMasi often worked 2 jobs, Adele DeMasi ran the household.
My mom was kind of like the rock that held everything together.
She followed her brothers everywhere they went. When one got in trouble, they all got in trouble.
When I was growing up, since I had 2 older brothers, I was like a tomboy. Like wherever they went, I wanted to follow. So they used to play football, and I would play football. I just loved playing football. We would always play tackle, even on the street. And I used to cut up my hands. They said, "Oh, you're my little sister. You don't want to play. You don't know how to play football." I could throw the perfect spiral.
Casey graduated from Bayside High School in Queens. Then she joined the Navy and served as a firefighter on a naval base in Spain.
And I don't even know why I joined the Navy. It was like I didn't want to go into a service where you had to wear greens. I didn't want to wear anything camouflage. So it's kind of like, we're in the Navy, you got to wear jeans. So that's kind of the reason why we decided to join the Navy, because you got to wear jeans, you didn't have to wear camouflage.
Casey had become interested in acting. She entered college to study theater and film.
She went to California because that was the place to go. If you want to get into the movies, you'd go to California.
But then she developed flu-like symptoms that wouldn't go away. Doctors initially dismissed her concerns, but one day, Casey woke up to a bigger problem.
When I got up to brush my teeth, I noticed that there was this thing on my neck that had never been there.
One fateful morning, Casey DeMasi woke up with a lump on her neck. It seemed to grow before her eyes.
Literally, I stood in front of my mirror and watched it grow, and it was just getting bigger and bigger.
What started as a pea-sized mass was developing at an incredible rate.
When I looked at it, it was growing. So rather than it getting smaller, it was actually increasing in size.
Alarmed by the ominous growth on her neck, Casey drove herself to a local medical center. Doctors there were mystified at the now baseball-sized mass.
They said that they've never seen something on the neck grow that fast and continue to grow over time. They said, did you eat anything out of the ordinary? Did you go out to eat? Was it food poisoning? Did you plant something you want, maybe it's an allergic reaction to something? And every time they asked me something, it was no, no, no. I said, there's something else going on here.
Frightened that the doctors had no answers for her, Casey felt in need of emotional support.
And then I called Jesse, my pastor, and he said, did you go to the doctor? I said, I went to the doctor. They said they don't know.
They indicated to her that they would have to do some biopsies to take some tissue and being able to determine exactly what it was and what was causing it.
They cut out the thing on my neck and to biopsy, but they took it all out. They took the chunk that was in there out.
From the perspective of what we really thought, the last thing on our mind was cancer.
She went in for diagnostic testing. They would, you know, you take a piece of the tissues and it was diagnosed as cancer.
The biopsy was worrisome, but the results of the CAT scans were positively terrifying.
They did a CAT scan from my pelvic all the way up to my throat, and it showed that I had over 300 cancerous tumors in my body.
Casey had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, so it had spread in quite a few different places in her body. There were several hundred locations where they found tumors.
The doctor explained to her that it was stage 4, which didn't give her too much time.
The doctors told us 6 months, give or take. I didn't believe it. I wouldn't believe it. I just, you know, maybe it's self-denial. Who knows? The first thing you do is you deny.
She didn't want her parents to be alarmed, to go into a mode where they would be equally as concerned as she was.
I don't like to have my folks worry about me.
We were both more concerned with how mom or dad were handling this, because sometimes there's collateral damage.
She comes from a family that will go all out to make sure that she gets what she needs.
Casey was told that the cancer had metastasized beyond her lymphatic system and that she urgently needed chemotherapy.
My oncologist said that if I didn't have chemo that particular week, I would die because I had so many cancerous tumors in my body.
The doctors recommended chemotherapy. She was apprehensive.
The treatment regarding this form of cancer is 21 months of chemo called Rituxan every 3 weeks.
Told that she could not survive without it, Casey reluctantly agreed to begin chemotherapy treatments.
I went ahead and did that one round of chemo because I was scared to death.
Chemotherapy has as much risk associated with it as the disease.
Every time they tried to put Rituxan in my body, I kept having to gasp for air. It's almost like my body was saying, it's terrible, it's not working.
She wasn't really reacting so well to the chemo. It may have been working, it may not have been working, but she felt her body was being sacrificed, and she felt she wouldn't survive that type of sacrifice.
The effects of that particular chemo on my body wasn't able to handle it. My feelings inside were saying, there's another alternative method you could do to kill the cancer.
I don't think chemotherapy is the only way to go. If you have to do that, we can also start with something else. There's got to be another answer.
My mom was like, obviously this is not the right way. We need to do something different.
Chemotherapy was out. I think it's one of the things we agreed upon, my wife and I agreed upon, that chemo wasn't a way to go.
I know that my parents argued about it a little bit because my mom is totally holistic. And my dad's like, let your daughter decide. Don't influence her by stating your opinions. Let her decide. Because in the end, my father's like, if you influence her and she chooses what you influence and she dies, then you're going to be heartbroken. Let your daughter decide for her own.
Despite the dire warnings from her oncologist that without chemotherapy she could not survive, Casey DeMasi fervently believed she was on the wrong path and that her body was being sacrificed to the cancer treatments. So she made the bold and risky decision to find another way. In her daring, Casey found the route to her own salvation.
After the first round of chemo, I had read online, numerous places online, that high doses of vitamin C kills cancer cells.
Wanting to explore high-dose vitamin C therapy, Casey sought out naturopathic doctor Corinne Barrett.
I first like to educate my patients about any kind of therapeutic that we are discussing. I provided her with all of the literature that I have on IV vitamin C in its utilization in patients with cancer. Provided her with 2 copies, one to keep for herself and one to take to her oncologist.
Dr. Barrett gave me a stack of research of this thick about holistic treatment for my oncologist. I gave it to my oncologist and she never even read it.
I think Dr. Barrett was good for her because overall she had confidence, trust in Dr. Barrett.
It was like a together thing, where my oncologist never ever said it together. It was either my way or the highway, pretty much. So with Dr. Barrett, it was just like, we could do this together.
Working with Casey, Dr. Barrett devised a holistic program aimed at enhancing the effectiveness of Casey's chemotherapy treatments.
One of the therapies that we did with Casey was IV vitamin C, and this will provide very high dosages of vitamin C all at once, so you can actually get the serum levels elevated. By giving it intravenously, you can get the blood levels up to a higher level than you can with oral supplementation.
The IV doses were as high as 75,000 milligrams, 1,000 times the recommended daily allowance of vitamin C in adult females.
I had the chemo the first week, and the 5 weeks in between the first and second regimen of chemo, all I did was vitamin C. So I literally did 225,000 milligrams of vitamin C a week.
When she would have a high-dose vitamin C treatment, I did notice that she was upbeat, she would have an energy surge, and she would be a lot more excited about treatment. And that wasn't the case with chemotherapy.
Casey was feeling so healthy from the IV treatments that she didn't show up for her next round of chemotherapy.
When the 3rd week came and went, and my oncologist didn't hear from me, the phone kept ringing. You missed your appointment for chemo. You're terminal, you're gonna die. It wasn't like it came once. It came every single day for like 2 weeks. I told her on the phone that I was doing holistic treatments, high doses of vitamin C. She freaked.
When you're talking about a cancer that was diagnosed as aggressive as Casey's, I could understand that the oncologist didn't want to play around and didn't want to deal with a patient who may not be as cooperative as they may have liked them to be.
I went back to do the 2nd week of chemo almost like an insurance policy. That the 2nd round of chemo would, if anything, kill some of the cancer cells, and it would be my insurance policy.
While Casey agreed to a 2nd round of chemotherapy, she decided it would be her last.
Told him, no, no more. This is it. I'm not going for this anymore.
She's decided herself she wasn't going, which made myself and my wife happy that she wasn't going to go.
My decision to support her was, there was no choice. I was supporting her no matter what.
My thoughts for Casey with alternative medicine was the way to go. That's how I would have done it.
I totally felt at peace inside my body that I knew that I was making the right decision.
When Casey decided to go off the chemo, it naturally made me nervous. I think it was a risky decision. I think Casey stopping her chemotherapy was a risky decision, and it's her body and she gets to make those decisions.
Ultimately, it's your call. It's your body, it's your life, it's your situation, it's your disease, and ultimately it's going to be your decision. And when we look back retrospectively, I think her decision was probably a very wise one.
When Casey refused to do any more chemotherapy, Dr. Barrett stepped up the intensity of the holistic treatments.
We did months and months of IV vitamin C with Casey. The idea behind the IV vitamin C is several-fold. One is that it's an immune stimulant, so it helps increase the lymphocytes, increasing the body's immune system. There's also a part of it that will improve the body's own ability for healing. It's a great antioxidant, so it helps prevent against oxidative damage. There's also some animal studies, and this is newer information looking at vitamin C that shows that it increases intracellular levels of hydrogen peroxide. And because of the abnormal physiology of cancer cells, that cancer cells are not able to process through this hydrogen peroxide, whereas your normal cells are, and hydrogen peroxide will actually kill off the cells.
Every time I did the vitamin C treatment, it's almost like I thought of a little tiny person inside my body, taking the vitamin C, putting it on the cancer cells, and the cancer cells shrinking.
When she was diagnosed, and then she started the holistic approach, it was 6 months when she went for her next test.
We did a whole set of full body scans. The scans showed everything was remarkable, clear, no sign of cancer. All the tumors were gone. For me, I believe that everything happens for a reason. Today, even though I'm cancer-free, I think that the journey that I have been on since 2005 and continue to be on is for a reason. I think that if I didn't go through the cancer journey, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Since overcoming cancer, Casey has earned a master's degree in gerontology, and she's devoted herself to a ministry through her church, directing plays and films.
That's what I believe that God wants me to do, almost to thank Him for my life.
Today, Casey focuses on healthy eating as a vital part of her ongoing holistic recovery program.
I think diet is of critical importance for patients who have cancer or survivors of cancer, or even have a strong family history of cancer.
Dr. Barrett pretty much changed my entire diet to like a lot of fruits and vegetables, broccoli, brown rice, brown pasta.
For those who have concerns about cancer in one form or another, increasing dietary fruits and vegetables is really important. It provides lots of nutrients, phytonutrients, that we can get directly from our diet. I don't think that we can replace a good diet with taking pills.
Not long after learning she was cancer-free, Casey received news that made her wonder if her cancer journey might have had a higher purpose.
In June of 2006, my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer. As soon as I found out he was diagnosed, I came to Arizona. And we just did the same regimen that I had started when I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Except he's not doing IV. He's doing high doses of vitamin C crystals. So he's doing like 25,000 milligrams of vitamin C crystals a day. And he changed his diet just like I changed my diet. When he was diagnosed, they said his PSA level was above 9. He was just recently got his PSA level, and it was 3.5. And he's only done holistic stuff.
I'm doing very well according to the doctors, thanks to Casey, who found this remedy.
If I never had cancer, then I would never been able to help my dad through his cancer with the vitamin C treatment and the holistic. Because I would never have known.
As part of her journey, Casey has renewed the deep emotional bonds with the people who supported her in her time of need.
Cancer is never a gift, but certainly finding your family and your friends and how strong those bonds are is really important.
The fact that I went through the cancer journey and technically still going through it, and he's going through it now, has brought us closer together as father and daughter, more so than we've ever thought of possible. It's almost like an added bonus that we could help each other in the process.
She really is an inspiration to other people out there who have received a diagnosis of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and other kinds of cancers. Casey does have a happy ending.
Casey DeMassey's story is truly inspiring. As a precaution, Casey continues to be scanned regularly, but her non-Hodgkin's lymphoma has not reappeared. Casey is cancer-free. And to her great joy, her father's cancer has responded to a holistic program patterned after her own. Today, both Casey and Joe are doing well, with prospects for healthy futures looking bright.